We are talking with Robert Reich today, innovator, entrepreneur, part of the Boulder startup scene, the founder of New Tech Meetup. You're part of the new entrepreneurial startup movement in the United States that even President Obama has talked about, part of the quote-unquote new economy that a lot of folks in Boulder or Boulder County know nothing about. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think it's funny that we're highlighting this segment. I think the big change that I see in the community going across the country, not just here, is that we're starting to separate small business from high growth. And that we're acknowledging that high growth businesses are a different thing than a small business. In the past, the Small Business Association, the government has kind of treated them as the same, but they're very, very different. The amount of jobs they create, the types of companies they are, and I think it's awesome that the government has acknowledged not entrepreneurs or starting businesses, because that's been part of our culture, but that there's a separation or difference between somebody who opens a hair salon and somebody that opens a tech or starts a tech company. That they're just different types of businesses with different types of needs.
So you're a businessman and you've owned and run companies, had employees, done the whole thing, right?
Yes. I'm a type of person that gets passionate about problems and solutions. So I think if you're a startup person, if you've got your own business, if you work in a business, there are problems that you deal with day in and day out where technology may be a solution or a way of solving those. And as an entrepreneur, that's one of the things that I get excited about is how do I look at a problem, how do I kind of empathize with that problem, how do I put myself in that problem in such a way where I can almost feel it in my body and I can experience what that consumer or customer is feeling. And then how do we look at the business and say, is there a technological solution, is there a business process that we could apply to make this business more efficient in how it meets the needs of that customer?
You just sold One Riot, or a year or two ago. What was it, or what is One Riot, and what kind of businesses was it?
I think what was it was probably the key thing, because it's definitely changed many times. So software have a tendency, and most companies, I won't just say software, but most companies, you start them and you think they're going to be here, and then you learn a little bit about them and they move over here, and then they move over here, and then they move over here, and they gradually move around. Ultimately, until you find what is the core business, who are your customers, what are they paying, are they excited by your product, and then it kind of emerges. So One Riot started off as an idea that myself had and a couple of other folks, and the idea was very simple that, at least to us it was simple, that people, once they start to perform different types of actions when they're using a computer, that we could record those events, and then we could take those events to create relationships between people. So it's a bit esoteric, but the general idea is that within an office, there's usually one person who everybody goes to for the tech support. Whether or not that person is the tech support person, or there's somebody within the law firm that everybody goes to for a particular type of legal advice or legal information. What we realized was in software, people do the same thing, patterns emerge. And then we could take those patterns and actually surface them up to the consumer, so the consumer could interact with them. And we took that and created a piece of software that created ad hoc groups based on the behavior of how people were using information. So search, when you go to Google, you go to Microsoft, any of the search engines, traditionally have been looking at the legacy content that's on the internet, information that's been there for days, weeks, years. Real time starts to focus on information that's happening now, weather, right? It's beautiful out right now. In 15 minutes, it could be very different here. Sports scores, right? What's the score of the game right this moment? News, what's happening today right at this moment? So real time focuses on a different slice of the search experience, wanting to know what's happening right now. So understanding that dynamic of the two.
So that's what One Riot does?
Correct.
Wow. So how long have you been an entrepreneur? And startups?
Probably since the late 80s.
Since the late 80s?
Yes.
What'd you do before that?
I owned a magazine, would have been kind of my first entrepreneurial push. Then I went into the corporate world. I worked down at Moody's Investor Service, and then I came back into the entrepreneurial world, into the software side of things.
Are you a mentor?
I'm a mentor for lots of companies and individuals. I'm a professor up at CU. I teach a class called Startup. So
Is that right?
I help a lot of companies emerge, grow, evolve. I also run the event called New Tech, which helps startups and the community.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So you're a mentor for a lot of companies and individuals. Like what kind of companies and what kind of individuals? You could say who if you want to. I don't really care, or not.
So it's usually young startups that are trying to figure out what their next move is, what their next pivot is, when they're in the process of trying to go from an idea stage to going to an actual company. There's been Steve Blank, who's an author and I believe a startup guy, I think coined the right definition for startup, and I like it, and I've been using it, which is startups is the search for a business model. And then once you find that business model, you transition to actually executing on it. But that startup phase, I talk to hundreds of companies about how to kind of figure that out, what to do, and then how to make that transition from being it's an idea to being an actual company.
So let's talk about New Tech Meetup. What you started it, you founded it. I've been to it like four times, 5 times. Really impressed by it. It's very cool, you know. And could you just explain it? Before we're going to look at some of the presentations from from February of 2013. But can you just give us a
Sure.
overview?
So when I came here 6 years ago, I'm a classic introvert extrovert, and I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
We had this new company. We needed to hire. I wanted to meet people that were similar to me. And I couldn't find any events that were happening in Boulder that were focused on people like me. So typical entrepreneurial fashion, I started something. I didn't start the concept. Meetup.com had been around for a couple of years. There's a New York tech meetup that's significantly larger than our Boulder one, though there's a lot more people in New York as well. And we started it humbly in our offices just down the street from where we're currently sitting. And we invited some people that we knew. We talked to, as you mentioned, Brad Feld, David Cohen, and a couple of people, and we said, hey, you know, we want to get to know people. We want to bring this community together. And I say we in the sense the folks that were with Medium and me kind of driving that. And they announced it on their blogs, and we had like 40 or 50 people show up. We bought some beer and some pretzels and some munchies, and we had some local folks present some ideas and followed initially the format that was happening in New York, and then have gradually kind of deviated from that. And it's been really fun to watch the event itself grow and mature as the community has grown and matured.
So what's the setup?
It's very simple. It's a place where all the people who are interested in new technology could come in and get to know what everybody else is doing on a regular basis. So it had consistency. I just kind of started, it's really not my meeting, it's the community's meeting. I just merely host and facilitate. But it's really all about the community, it's all about the people that come to the event, it's about meeting new people in a way that's not, oh, let me hand you my business card, or let me sell you something. It's more a way of exploratory. Let me see what's happening, let me see what people are doing, let me see what my friends are doing. And it's become just a regular hangout place, just as if you would go to the local coffee shop.
So you get there, it's in the law school, in the, what's the name of the building?
The Wolf Law School.
The Wolf Law School, beautiful setting. You have, there are cocktails before, you can get some brie cheese, crackers or whatever, water.
Sometimes some chips, guacamole,
exactly.
Strawberries.
Food's really great. It's a good reason to go. Okay, and then it costs $10 if you can donate $10 if you want to.
We don't charge anybody. It's purely based on if you want to help support the community, you can donate to it.
And the community is the technology community. Is that right?
I think it's more the broader entrepreneurial community, people who are interested in this high growth sector. So whether or not you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a technologist, if you're an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, if you're interested in apps, if you're interested in enterprise software or consumer software, it's so much a part of our lives these days. It's not this thing that used to just be, you know, a spreadsheet that only the accountants used. Software is now part of everything we do. You'll probably experience this video over technology.
That's right.
So it's moms, it's dads, it's kids, it's students, it's all different ages of people that have this common psychographic that they like new technology.
So you have 5 companies that do 5 5 presentations for 5 minutes and then 5 minutes of questions and answers, is that right?
Yeah, correct. Each company gets 5 minutes to present their idea, and then the audience comes back with questions to help that company evolve or change or understand something about either their product or who they're marketing to or how they're trying to sell. It's designed to be where you get a quick amount of information, and then you can go meet people kind of face to face, and they can give you more feedback, right? The goal is that they can become passionate about your brand, and then they can join you in your quest, because that's what a startup is. It's a quest to go solve some problem that's not there yet.
So everybody is really part of your team.
The community is part of your team.
Yeah.
Everybody's rooting for you to succeed. They want you to succeed. You get to make millions, and then you invest it back in the community, you hire people, you grow your business, and then the community gets better. So it's to the advantage of everybody to help everybody succeed.
The New Tech Meetup is not a business. I mean, if there were
it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So literally, it doesn't have a bank account. It doesn't actually. It's not a nonprofit. It's not a company. It's just a group of people that get together.
All right. So if there are
9,000 of them, by the way.
9,000 people.
It's grown to.
Oh my goodness.
Not all together at the same time.
What's the next thing for Robert Reich, the entrepreneur and businessman?
It's a great question. So I like to sit and ruminate on ideas for a while. I think you can't just quick and run. So I've got a few things that I'm playing with in the back of my head that seem interesting. I'm currently doing some consulting and trying to figure out what my next move is.
Anything else you want to say? You want to invite people? I don't know, whatever. We're kind of done.
The URL is bdnt.org. Check it out. It's a nice visualization of what's happening across the community. Come join the event in Boulder. It's the first Tuesday of every month. In Denver, it's the third Thursday of every month. And in Fort Collins, it's the second Tuesday of every month. So depending on where you are across the state, come visit. Come check it out. It's free. If you love the event and you want to donate to help pay for beer and wine, awesome. If not, don't feel obligated.
It's the best $10 you ever spent, I guarantee that.
I'll add one other thing too.
Yes, yeah.
And if you have a company, a high growth company that's into technology and you want to come present, please do. You can contact me at my email right through the website. There's a little button that says present. Click it, fill out the form, and basically we do first come, first serve.
Cool. Good talking to you, man.
Yeah,
Thanks very much.
My pleasure.